We're living in a digital world where classrooms have screens and endless possibilities. Just a click away to fuel our dreams.
Welcome to Integrate This EdTech, the essential podcast for educators and tech enthusiasts. I'm David Berner, joined by Jeremy Mikla, your guides to the intersection of technology and education. As we explore the latest in EdTech tools, tips, and trends, join us in creating dynamic, tech-forward classrooms. Ready for today's digital learning adventure? Let's dive in. Jeremy, let our viewers know what we have on tap for today's episode.
Thanks, David. Today we're going to take a look at the best platforms for creation of educational newsletters. Whether your role is a classroom teacher, an instructional or a tech coach, an administrator, or you have some unique position, I think you'll find something helpful in this episode. We're also going to have a special guest join us today. Her name is Jodi Johnson, and she is the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Princeton Public Schools. Princeton is one of the member ECMEC districts.
That's awesome. From time to time on the Integrate This podcast, Jeremy and I plan to bring in some outside experts to give a fresh perspective or shed some light on areas of EdTech that we are not as familiar with.
That's right. So today, Jodi is going to share with us about using Canva to create fresh and inviting newsletters and show us examples of ones that she's created and sent out to the teachers in her district. You plan to show at Southwest West Central how you use Smore to create and send out newsletters as well. Then I'm going to wrap it up by showing you how you can create a basic newsletter using a tool that most of you are probably already familiar with, and that is Google Slides. So let's begin. Let's have Jodi start out with us, and we will bring her into the mix.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. My name is Jodi Johnson. Again, I am the Instructional Tech Coordinator for Princeton Public Schools. So I work with preschool through high school teachers on integrating technology. And I'm going to share with you the newsletter that I use to share tech information with staff. So I kind of think of it as my curated news that I get from all different sources to send out to them bi-weekly-ish.
Mm-hmm. And Jodi, you've been a Canva user for quite some time here as well, haven't you?
I have. I was actually a Canva user before they were free for educators. So I actually paid for Canva because I just enjoyed it so much and I found it so easy to use. When I was pointing out to one of the teachers the other day, one of the reasons I enjoy it so much is, and they got excited about this, was that all the graphics are already in there. So instead of having to go search for graphics and download them and have a folder, they're just already there and ready to go. And that, as I was introducing this to some new staff the other day, they were just blown away by how easy that is.
Cool. Well, hey, why don't you start it off for us today? I'm going to put your screen into the stage here.
Perfect.
And I'm going to, mute us so we don't try to accidentally blurt something out like, no, stop. No, just let you have it. Sound good?
Sounds good. All right. So I'm just loaded into Canva here on the main page. And when I got ready to do my newsletter this year, I literally just searched technology newsletter and found one that I liked. I tried to, for today, find the original, and unfortunately I didn't. But what I love about this is you can take any template that's already been created and then make it your own. So let's say I picked this newsletter as the one that I wanted to use. You can see it's already colored and, with different colors, and it has all the information, but I can customize it. And what I really enjoy about Canva is I can then say, okay, I want this to be orange because we're the Princeton Tigers and everything is orange and black. So as soon as it comes up here, I'm just going to show you how quickly you can take something like one of their templates and just start making it your own. And then I'll show you my own example of the one that I use. All right. So any newsletter or any template that you use, and there's a template for just about anything. Another quick tip for Canva is if you are creating maybe if you're in Google Classroom, there's Google Classroom headers. Like it's already figured out the dimensions for it. If you post to Instagram, there's an Instagram template already. So the template's already there. You don't have to worry about sizing being correct. But this is example, like I said, of a newsletter template. And I can click really anywhere on here and change it. So if I click on this top banner, and then you can see the colors right here. If I click on that blue, then I'm going to have all the colors pop up on the side. And you're going to notice I actually have what's called the Princeton brand. I loaded this in under the brand templates of Canva. So I can just click on, these are our official school colors. And so I can change that right away to orange. I can click on the words, change that super fast. Of course, I wouldn't call it that because that's our superintendent's newsletter, but that's okay. Really, any of these things I can click, I can delete. When you see, so like I just deleted that picture off there, you see here they have this kind of cloud background. That just means it's a template that you can throw a picture in and it will size it for you. So if I go to my photos here, and like Jeremy said, I've been using Canva for years and years. I have pictures and I have never run out of storage, especially once they went to this free educator account. So if I just slide this over, it just moves it right in there. If I want to adjust it and double click, I can just move it down. Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. If I double click on the whole picture, you can see the whole picture is inside of there, and I can scoot that down within the frame to make it fit a little bit nicer. So it's really just a lot of click and drag, which I enjoy. I'll show you an example of our newsletter. One thing I like to point out too is down here in the bottom, it usually defaults pretty small. You can make it a little bit bigger for those of us with those over 40 eyes. So you can see, but you can see this one, this was all the template that was here. And then I just changed it to instructional technology. I put in all of the Princeton colors in the background. And that was really just a matter of clicking it, clicking the color, and then choosing the color that I wanted. For me, one thing that I've started to do, I've been trying to get really consistent with our newsletter because I feel like I constantly am changing how we do newsletters in our district and how I get the information out. So I've tried to do, especially this year, an AI spotlight. So every time I send the newsletter, I try to focus on something new in AI or something teachers might not know about. And then we use Seesaw and Schoology. So I try to focus on 2 of those every time. And then down here is just kind of whatever I've come across. So whether it's Jeremy's newsletter from ECMAC, whether it's, some of the different, I guess you would call them education influencers that I follow, I take all those newsletters and then I put it in here to share with staff. So yeah, it's really just a matter of clicking and typing. The other thing that I really like about Canva now is you have the ability to do the magic rate. So if I take this paragraph here and I'm like, yeah, it's good, but I want to change it. If I click on the magic rate, all right. If I click on magic rate, I can make it more fun. I can rewrite it. I can sprinkle fairy dust to just kind of clean it up and make it look nicer. But I've done this a lot when I don't exactly know how I want to describe the tool. So I'll kind of put in everything I know and then I'll ask it to rewrite it, and it rewrites it in just a way that's easier for staff to understand. Or I've had staff email me, here's what we were doing in class, rewrite this however you want. So I just let AI rewrite it for me. And I found this to be incredibly helpful for writing my newsletter. So a lot of times I'll just say, okay, rewrite it so I can see if I like it better, how they rewrite it. With everything, there's an undo button, so you can always go backwards if you don't like it right up here. The other thing I really enjoy, and this is someone's in here right now, is with Canva, I can see who's reading my newsletter. So especially on Fridays when I send it out, I will keep this open and I will see, just like in Google, all the people who are in my newsletter. So for me, it just is validation that people are reading it in our district. So I know the information's getting out there. If they have a Canva account, I see their name. If they don't, it just says like some random animal that's in there. And then what I do every week is let's be real, it's not every week. It's weekish. When I'm ready, I hit file, make a copy. So just like this is very reminiscent of Google. And then I just name that copy whatever week I'm sending out. And you can see this was supposed to be last week and didn't get sent out. So I'm going to be doing some stuff today. I'm actually going to be writing up a little bit about Canva and how teachers can use this to create lessons, worksheets, activities, and all of it is really easy to just, manipulate and change into whatever colors and activities you want. We found in one class last week, we found a math worksheet, but it was spring themed. And so I showed them how really quickly they could just click on the logo or click on the element and search for a snowman and put the snowman in instead.
It looks to me like you have space remaining for a little integrate this podcast promo.
I do have a little space remaining for that.
Right in that empty space there.
Yes. There you go. Right here. You have to send me the logo. And then actually just before we got on here, I actually was searching. I'm like, well, if I'm going to talk about Canva, I want to use their logo. This is all the stuff that's already in graphics under Canva. So, and anytime you search a topic, so if I search technology, you can search for graphics, photos, videos, and all of this is ready to be used. And you just literally click on it. It plops it into your picture. It's super easy to resize. And unlike Word or even Google Docs, it doesn't move your words all around and you have to get it just perfect to make it like work, right? You can move things around really easy, which again was another aha for teachers that they really liked. So that's Canva. That's what I like.
I think it's also important and maybe to remind all of our educators out there that you can get a free Canva for Education account by signing up through there. And then when you do that, you get access to so much more than what you would get if you just had an individual free plan. And they
will be free forever. I actually sat in with some Canva representatives, and that's a promise they've made that it'll be free for educators forever.
Awesome. Cool. That was fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing what you know about Canva with us. And, I think, especially with the templates that you showed, I think it's pretty straightforward that any teacher, any administrator, any person within the educational world should be able to find something that would work for them. And if they don't find it exactly, they can tweak it to make it fit. So.
Exactly. And I think that's what's the easiest thing about Canva for me is that you can just find that template, click around, make the colors what you want, drop things in that are easy. And it just makes it pretty user friendly. I haven't had too many staff that have tried it and felt overwhelmed like they might with learning a new tool.
Hey, Jodi, thank you so much for joining us and offering your definitely skilled insight into all the great uses for Canva. And
thank you guys so much for having me. And I look forward to being able to share this with staff and connect with teachers always. It's my favorite thing.
Perfect. Thanks again, Jodi. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
All right. Yeah. So with Smore, this is one that I've actually been using since about 2019, I think. We've been using it for a while, and we kind of initially started it just because we were looking for a way to communicate to all of our schools, since we have so many schools that that we work with. We have 7 right now. That equates to a lot of staff that we can potentially get content out to. And so at the time, Smore seemed like a really good option for doing that. And there's a couple of reasons why that I'll go over. But this is the general layout. So what you see in front of you here is just smore.com. I'm not really sure how they came up with the name, but its interface is really user friendly. I would encourage teachers to try this out if it's something that they do regularly. I have seen elementary school teachers that like to use this, but we'll take a look here. I'm going to log in, but when you do get to the site, if you want to sign up, you just click sign up now. And just like with everything else, you can either put your information in, or you can just sign up with Google, and that makes it pretty easy if you do that with a lot of your other accounts. So for mine, I'll go ahead and log in here. Okay, so once you get in, I have the Educator Basic plan, and so there's some features that are held back. You can look at the different plans that they have here to see kind of what are the perks of each. I've just found always that the Educator Basic serves our needs, so that's kind of what we go with, because we aren't really gonna go over any of the limitations that they have with the basic plan. So that's just what we go with. We has the unlimited newsletter still. We send out a newsletter every other week, so we have a bi-weekly newsletter. And when you're first in, what you'll notice is that the very first tab that you'll be on is the newsletters tab. So that's going to be where kind of everything is stored. So you have your previous newsletters here, and you can see, your whole stream of all of those that you've created. With the way that we do things, because we use the same layout, we tend to usually duplicate a previous one and then edit our materials off of that. You can create folders if you want to. You'll notice here, like I do have some previous school years listed here in a miscellaneous folder. So you can create folders and then funnel, certain newsletters into there. If they're from a previous year, or depending on what your role is, you might have, different folders that you use just to organize your newsletters. You can start from scratch. So you'll notice that right up here, they have this option to start a newsletter. And what that'll do is it'll pull you into the kind of the draft system, and it'll just have on the right-hand side what the initial draft would look like. And all of this is editable. So you don't, this is just to kind of get you started with something rather than trying to come up with things on your own. And you can change what the purpose of the template is. So if you'll notice here, it's got, weekly update, principals notes, staff update, event invitation, announcement, or other. But when you're ready, if you feel like this is what you'd like, you just hit start editing. And then what it's going to do is it's going to bring you into the editing program where you can start to add things and change some of the things that are already in there. Here you've got within the editing phase, you have some menus that you can work with. One thing that's really nice about this system is there's a lot of drag and drop, and there's a lot of easy rearranging and easy replacing of items that are in the newsletter. So I don't find it to be confusing whatsoever. I think they've done a really nice job with just making it organized. On the right-hand side, this is where your different text and themes are going to be. They don't have a ton of themes here, but you can select a theme. Like I could choose this one, but then I can still change the background colors, the fonts if I want to. I'm not stuck with those. So once I have like my initial design, I can still make those edits. Just under that, you have another menu item here that is the content. So these are the different types of things that you can add into the newsletter. And they have a pretty wide variety of things. So title, you can choose where you want to add that. For us, it makes a lot of sense when we do our newsletter. And let me actually just shift over to one of ours and show you. We do our newsletter in a way where we have categories of things that we like to communicate with our staff that we send this out to. So here's one we've done recently here. Let's take a look. And this would be an example of a title. So again, if I'm editing this, I'm going to have all those options to add things in. So you can see that menu showing up again. and you can insert any of these things. But this would be an example of a title. You can put in photos. So one version of that is like here we have, this is a photo, one whole photo. But you can also do, when you click photos, you can do one large photo like this one here, or you can do columns. So you can have 3 different pictures if you want to, and then you can add titles and descriptions to those. Then you get into the videos. The videos are link based. So what that means is that when we have a video, what we do is I'll actually upload it to YouTube, and then I'll take that link and I will pop it into here. So you'll notice this is a YouTube link video. But the nice thing about that is whatever thumbnail you used for the video on YouTube, that's what's going to show up in this space too. So what's nice about that is it makes it look really presentable, as long as whatever you did with your thumbnails was you gave it a nice graphic or something like that. I won't get it too much deep into these because we're just kind of previewing Smore, but there is a lot of options here that are worth exploring. And then outside of that, if we go to, once you are ready to send something out, what's nice is Smore has these mailing lists. And so if you click on the mailing list tab, you can make custom mailing lists to send out your newsletter to others. And so for me, I just put in contract schools, and we have a lot of teachers, educators that receive our newsletter. You don't have to, you could make as many mailing lists as you want. Maybe it's more by, content area, if you're just talking about one school, for example, or one district. But you can add more if you need to, or if you want, you can also remove. And when we typically tend to do that is because we have contract schools. If we have a school that leaves our services, then I would just remove them from here, and then they don't get sent the newsletter anymore. But this is where you can edit all that and send it out when you're ready. When you do that, if we go, and you're going to send it out from the newsletter, you can either copy a link. Each newsletter has its own unique link handle at the end. And so it'll be smore.com. And there's a couple different options here for sharing it. Copy link is going to be where you can grab that link, and then you could always just paste it into an email. But with what's nice about this is with our mailing lists, when I'm done with this newsletter, I can just click share with email, and I can click add mailing list, put my contract schools in there, and then go ahead and send it out. I can even schedule it if I want to, and add a personal message. I tend to just send it out. Our staff, because we do it bi-weekly, they tend to expect that it's coming, so they know, they know where it's coming from, and it's going to be sent out on every other Friday, and that's how we run ours. But you could certainly do some different things there. And I should mention, I guess the upgrade is where you would be able to schedule. We don't schedule, like I said, but that's something you could explore if you wanted to. And then outside of the mailing list, they have this template area, which is really nice because I just describe it as, like teachers pay teachers, but for Smore, it's specific to Smore. They call it the educator hive. And this is going to be where either the company submits newsletters for users to use, or you might have where you have users that are creating newsletters and then making them public. In each newsletter, you can choose whether you want it to be private or public, and so it would show up here. You can you can filter out by category, or you could search for templates directly in here. So I can search for, I want a back to school newsletter, and it's going to filter that out and give me some options here for these. So this is going to be a fully fleshed out newsletter, but when you click on it, you're able to make it your own. So I can just choose start using this template. And then it's what I'm going to have is my own copy. And then I'm not subjected to, just keeping everything that the previous creator had put in there. And change anything on this using those same editing tools as I would as if I was making my own from scratch. But at least with this, I have a nice layout of what I could potentially do for mine. Maybe there's some things in here that I do like and I want to keep, and then maybe there's some things that I don't, and I want to switch out, or I want to just get rid of altogether. But there's a lot of great resources within that template area to allow you to create from or off of other people's ideas. So that's kind of what a little bit of a breakdown of Smore, covering what we do with our newsletters, the mailing lists, and the templates. And I would encourage everyone to give it a try and see what you think of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've played around with it a little bit. And definitely there's some neat features, and like if you can, I'm not sure what you get on the free or what you get for paid for, but don't you get some insights too into the number of people that open it, the amount of clicks that different segments of it get, which could be helpful for many people too, to make sure that whatever information you're trying to get across is getting to the people it's intended for, right?
Yeah, I'll just go in quickly on this. Thanks for pointing that out. On the right-hand side, you do have some analytics that show up. The very first thing you'll see is the amount of views that it got, so you can see how many people are engaging with it. And so I'll show you here in a second with the analytics. But what it's nice too is it'll actually send you updates in your email of, it'll do like kind of milestones. So it'll send you email that your newsletter got its 50th view, 100th view, 250th, and then increases from there. But this is your view count. And then in the analytics, you can see a little bit further breakdown of some things. You can see, where are they accessing it at? And so for this newsletter in particular, you have where most of the users that are engaging with it were from email. However, you can see there are some other sources as well. So you can see some you have two there that access it directly from Smore, and then you have where are they accessing it the interactions that they have on the links there. So if they're clicking on something, it gives you the breakdown of where were people viewing it. So were they viewing it on a mobile device or desktop? And then average time reading is 2 minutes. And then you do have some other breakdowns here. They've improved this a little bit more. It used to be not as comprehensive. And sometimes it was a little unclear to see how in-depth those interactions were. They did have where it used to be a bar graph here, and you might see, this many people spent under 1 minute, this many people spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so on. And so you can see a breakdown of how long people were sitting on the newsletter as well. So yeah, all of that's really helpful, just to be able to see, if you're trying to compare the content that you released, maybe looking at what were the things that were more popular amongst teachers that they were gaining more insight from, compared to maybe another newsletter that didn't do so well. So,
the other thing that I think is kind of nice about it is it definitely, and you actually showed one of your stats was 54% or something were viewing on a mobile device. And you can really, really tell that this newsletter is going to format itself so that it works really, really well to view it either from a tablet or a phone or on your laptop or desktop computer, and it will display equally as nice. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah. And I think probably one other important thing to point out is if you are looking to embed it into a website, you can do that as well. you have this embed option. And so you can incorporate this as well into your website. So that's a cool thing too that you can do from the sharing section. All right. So last, we're going to take a look at, after seeing Canva and Smore, which have a lot of detailed versions of newsletters and things, we're going to take a look at, Jeremy's going to show us what you could potentially do with a tool that everybody's maybe more familiar with in Google Slides.
Yeah, so Canva's awesome, and there's so many cool things you can do with it. Even Smore, there's so many different directions that you can go with that as well. But sometimes I get it. Sometimes it's just easier to work with a tool that you're already familiar with to create a newsletter that maybe is going to go out mostly just to your classroom parents. And so one of the neat things about slides is that it is really much more than just a presentation tool. You can use it for so many other different uses that it's really kind of neat, all of the different things that you can do. So I want to share with you how you can construct a newsletter, make it a template, and be able to then send that out to your parents. So I'm going to actually open up a new tab here. And I'm going to start a new slides presentation by doing my favorite thing, typing in the URL slides.new, which is going to open up a brand new Google Slides for me to start creating with. And so the first thing that I'm going to want to do is that I don't want it to appear to be in this presentation like 16:9 ratio. So I'm going to go initially to the File Page Setup menu. Maybe right there. And I'm going to change it from this widescreen to custom. And then once I'm there, you'll see you get a little drop down on what you want it to be. I'm just going to use inches and make it what our standard paper length and width would be, which would be 8.5 by 11 inches, and then apply that. And you'll see it change the whole layout of what that Google Slides looks like. And now I don't need it to be a title slide. I'm just going to go to the blank canvas in the layout. So I'm going to change it to that. Now, one of the things that I might want to do is maybe I want that big block header at the very, very top. So I'm going to use a shape tool and just choose rectangle, for example. And I'm going to just highlight this part up here. And now I can see that there is this rectangular box that's here. But, maybe I don't want it to be a light shade of gray. Maybe instead what I want it to do is to show up in a school color. And Jodi did a good job of pointing out that for Princeton, they had their branded colors that their school is supposed to use. So if you know what those are also, if you have one of these colored areas highlighted and you go up to the fill color part, you can actually create and start using your own custom colors that you tell it. So I'm going to choose to add a custom color here. And I happen to know the hex number that I want to use for one of our schools. And it is this particular shade of blue. And that is the branding that Mora Public Schools uses for all of their stuff. So you can see I choose that and it's going to create that color blue, right? So now maybe I want to layer a text box over the top of this, and I want to call it Mr. Mikla's class, right? And okay, that looks nice, but I think I want it to be more centered within here. So of course I can go up and I can just choose for my tools and choose instead of left justified, make it right. And maybe that's not the right color that I would like to use. And on top of blue, think of a nice contrasting color that would work really, really well with that. That would definitely be your white. So I'm going to make that white. And then I'm just going to make this much larger so that it fills that space even better. So you can do that with a text box. Another thing that you might want to do here too is if you don't want to use the text box, this might be another good time to insert word art. So instead I could write in Mr. Mikla's, and maybe on the next line I want it to say 4th grade class. And then maybe the next line, it's going to say newsletter, right? And then I'm going to drop that in here and move that up into this area, which is nice when you do this now as a word art. It kind of adjusts as you slide that box around to the right sizes and stuff. And of course, if you don't like Arial font, can you choose something different? Can you choose to add a border around it or remove a border? Any of those different things here that you'd like. Then you can also add different sections into your newsletter by crafting more text boxes, and you can include different images and that sort of thing. This just kind of gets you started. Let me switch back then to one that I've already made to show you some of the other features that you could add into it. So you could see here on this newsletter here is one that I've created. You can bring in your school logo if you have that particular file. If not, there's probably someone in your district office that does, and they could, ask them and they'd allow you to use it. For example, here then of another feature, this is just another black box here on this outside. It's hard to select it, but I can then add in different things into here, such as like with a date or contact information, other different things maybe you would want to include in a newsletter. Maybe you have a joke of the week because you think it's kind of funny for fourth graders. Maybe you want to include the most memorable moment of the week. And maybe you have something that you're trying to encourage kids to do, like maybe find something to do over the weekend and promote that's going on in your community. Then you can create different sections that are also part of your standard newsletter. Maybe for you as a weekend review, and you can talk about what happened in science or social studies or health or phy-ed that week. Maybe you want to point out some upcoming things, that you have a field trip to the apple orchard, or maybe you want to talk about, hey, here is some homework that is due, or here's a study tip that I suggest that you work on. Maybe you need a section in there to include parents to send materials or to become involved volunteering in the classroom. And you can add whatever sections you want to. Or maybe this is something that you're going to work on with your fourth grade team. And each of you are responsible for a different section, someone for science, someone for English language arts, or someone for social studies. And each person then could be responsible for that different part, and you could work on that update of it all together. Now, what I did here is to kind of set this up so that this could be basically a rinse and repeat type of a newsletter that you could add, or that you could just simply adjust every week that you want to send it out. So what you then do is you want to make this into a template. So once you're in your Google Drive, click on the plus new button, hover down to Google Slides, and using the caret on the right, choose from a template. Okay, then what it's going to do is it's going to open up this template gallery, and you're going to choose submit a template. And then once you choose submit a template, you can say whether you want it to be the original or whether you want it to be a copy, and then call it whatever you want it to be, class newsletter, and give it a category, maybe brochures and newsletters, and then choose to, you've got to select the presentation first, and find the one that you would like and choose to submit that as a particular newsletter. So here's one, choose open, and then submit. I'm not going to show you that because I've already done it once, but that's where you would do it. And you may have to give it a moment, but it's going to show up here in your templates that are in this gallery. So now imagine then that I want to create a brand new newsletter. And so I'm going to go to create a brand new newsletter, but I want to use the same template as I had before. So now when I'm here, I go up to that new button again, and down to slides, choose from a template again. And now what you're going to see in this gallery is if I choose this previous one right here, for example, I can open up a brand new copy of that newsletter. And so what I can do is then I can go in here and I can change the date, and then I can change the joke or any other different part that you see on here. And that would be something simple that you should be able to do using the tools that are right here available to you that you're already familiar with in Google Slides. So then you can just take this, you can export it out as a PDF, you can share it out as a Google Doc to your parents as a great way to let them know what's going on or what has been going on in your child's class. Yeah, so David, 3 different ways that people could do. They could really share a lot of content and information, whether it's about experiences happening in your child's classroom, maybe it is from the perspective of an administrator or an instructional coach, would be all great things to be able to use these newsletters for. And I think you're going to find one that works for you.
Yeah. There's definitely no lack of options. And I think that, depending on who you are, you might find yourself utilizing one more than another. Everybody's going to have their preference. And I love Canva, for example, but I don't really use it for newsletters. I use it for a lot of other things. And then I have Smore as kind of my dedicated newsletter. And it serves that purpose. And what I could see, though, is a lot of administrators and or school teachers as well, just opting for the ease and the familiarity of something like Google Slides. I think so all 3 of those options should hit everybody in some way and give them an option to use.
So there you go. Find one that works for you.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in to the Integrate This podcast. We hope you have picked up some valuable insights for your instructional and classroom use. Special thanks to our guest, Jodi Johnson, and to Jeremy Mikla, and all our listeners and viewers for joining this digital exploration. I'm David Berner. Until next time, keep integrating, innovating, and shaping the future of education. Happy teaching.
Don't forget to subscribe to our Integrate This YouTube channel and to join our socials for the latest tutorial and education discussions in the world of technology. Join us next week for our podcast on our favorite tips and tricks for Google Apps.